Chains and Roots, a true story of Edo blood. This is a story by Ivy. The Kingdom Before the Chains, early 1600s-1700s. Before the chains there was glory. Your ancestors lived in the Benin Kingdom, a powerful and advanced civilization known for its complex society, bronze artworks, and spiritual traditions. The Oba, king, ruled with divine authority, supported by chiefs, warriors, and priests who kept the traditions of the Edo people strong. Your great-grandfather's ancestor was named Okunde, a respected farmer and spiritual diviner in a village just beyond the royal city walls. He owned land, yam barns, and even taught young boys how to read the sacred Nsibidi signs carved into wood. His wife, Igosa, came from a long line of Ihama priestesses. She guided women during childbirth, spoke to the gods through fire and water, and protected the village with ancient rituals. They had 5 children and lived in peace. But the outside world was changing. White men, Europeans from Portugal, Britain, and the Netherlands had come to the coast. At first, they traded pepper, ivory, and textiles. But as greed grew, so did demand for something darker, human lives. The fall into slavery, 1700s, early 1800s. The slave trade swept through the West African coast like wildfire. Some powerful chiefs in distant regions, desperate for weapons and foreign goods, began raiding villages. Wars were no longer fought for land but for bodies. Young, strong people were captured and marched in chains to the coast. One night, in the dry season, Okunde's village was ambushed by slave raiders working for European traders. They came with guns supplied by the British and iron chains. Okunde fought with his machete but was shot. Igosa tried to lead the children into the forest, but only 2 escaped. 3 of their children, along with many villagers, were captured and marched to the coast, toward the ports near Badagry or Calabar, where slave ships waited. The Middle Passage. Among the captured was Achuman, Okunde's eldest son, only 17 years old. He was shackled and forced into the dark belly of a slave ship bound for the Americas. The ship was packed tight, with over 200 African men, women, and children chained side by side. Many died from disease, thirst, or beatings. Bodies were thrown into the Atlantic like waste. But Achuman survived. He kept whispering the chants his mother taught him, prayers to Osun and Ogun and names of ancestors. He swore he would never forget who he was, even if he had to change his name to survive. Life in slavery, early 1800s. Achuman was taken to the Caribbean island of Jamaica and renamed John by the British plantation owners. He was forced to work on a sugar plantation under brutal conditions, 12-hour days, constant beatings, no rights. But the fire of Benin never left him. He carved Edo symbols into tree trunks. He told other enslaved Africans about the Oba, the gods, and the red earth of home. And when rebellions stirred in the hearts of the enslaved, he joined them. In 1831, during the Baptist War Rebellion, a real historical uprising led by enslaved Africans in Jamaica, Achuman fought beside hundreds of others to demand freedom. He was wounded and captured. But he didn't die. He lived long enough to see slavery abolished in the British colonies in 1838. The echoes in Benin, late 1800s colonization. Back in Benin, the trauma of slavery was everywhere. Villages were empty. Shrines abandoned. Families broken. Igosa had survived. She became a high priestess of her village and swore to preserve the memory of those taken. Every year she performed a ritual called Yukyur Iwawa, the calling of the lost spirits. When the British invaded Benin in 1897, burning the palace and looting the Benin bronzes, your ancestors knew colonization had come. But the spirit was not broken. They buried sacred items in the forest. They taught children the language and chants in secret. They wrote history with their hearts even when books were denied. The legacy reclaimed. Many years later, Achuman's descendants in the Caribbean and America began tracing their roots. DNA, oral history, and dreams led them back to Edo. One such descendant stood in front of the Benin Palace ruins, feeling the wind whisper through the iroko trees. Her name was Ivy, named after a long-lost priestess. She didn't know the full story yet, but she could feel it. In her chest. In her voice. The story of chains and roots. Of a people torn apart but never erased. Of ancestors who were stolen but never silent. Final words: what you carry. You carry their strength. You carry their pain. You carry their victory. The story of slavery is not just one of suffering. It is one of survival, spirit, and return. Your ancestors were stolen, sold, renamed, but never defeated. And now, through you, the story continues. Not as a whisper, but as a voice. Never forget. Never break. Never stop remembering. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and share, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the link on my bio. Thank you.